Hello, today I'm going to analyze the face of Karen Mulder, a highly successful supermodel from the 1990s who rose to international fame during the golden era of high fashion modeling. Let's start with her frontal harmony. First off, her facial thirds are slightly unbalanced as her upper third is 36.6%. At the same time, her lower third is 31.7%, which is perfect and feminine. Her total face shape is 1.43, which falls well outside of the ideal range, which is probably her biggest harmony flaw. However, in her case, this does not negatively affect two of the most important measurements: the mid-face ratio, which is excellent at 1.09, and her FWHR, which is 1.9, also within the ideal range. When these two ratios are considered together, they indicate that her mid-face is compact, which is a crucial factor for overall facial attractiveness. Moving on, her jaw width is 89.7%, placing it just outside the ideal range, meaning her jaw is a bit too wide. Her forehead width is 94% of her bizygomatic width, which indicates that it's also too wide. Karen's jaw inclination is 98 degrees, which is in the upper end of the ideal range. Her cheekbones are also perfectly high set at 84%. Now moving on to her eye area, her ESR is 49.8%, which is too wide set, and her eyes are around 1.1 eyes apart, which again supports the idea that her eyes are too far apart. Her canthal tilt is slightly unideal, as it is 5 degrees. This suggests that ideally her eyes should be more upturned. However, her eye aspect ratio is perfect at 2.7, indicating a good eye shape as a whole. The next assessment is the eyebrow low-settedness, and it's ideal at 87%, which means that her eyebrows are medium set. Her eyebrow tilt is 17 degrees, which is also perfect. Karen's ipsilateral ALOR angle is 91 degrees, which is great, but the deviation of 7 degrees between this angle and the jaw frontal angle is a flaw. Next is her mouth to nose ratio, which is too low at 1.4, and her nasal width is also too high compared to her bizygomatic width at 27.7%. Karen's chin to philtrum ratio is 2.9, which is also a moderate flaw. This indicates that her chin is too long. Her neck width is 86% compared to her begonial width, which is on the wider side, especially given that her jaw is already slightly too wide as previously noted. However, her lip proportions are 1.6, which is perfect. And lastly, her lower third proportion is 30.5%, which falls outside the ideal range, which again supports the idea that her chin is too long. Her frontal harmony as a whole isn't the best, but her side profile is a lot better. Let's move on to her side. Her glabella facial convexity is 170 degrees, which is ideal. Her total facial convexity is 142 degrees, also perfect, and her Nation facial convexity is 166 degrees, ideal. Her jaw isn't recessed relative to the Frankfurt plane, which is also great. Karen's ramus is tall enough compared to her mandible. However, her gonial angle is too obtuse at 130 degrees, probably her only moderate flaw from the side. Her mandibular plane angle is 22 degrees, which is in the upper end of the ideal range. Moving on to her lip assessments, her E-plane is perfect, and she also passes the H-line, the Steiner line, and the Burstone line. Karen's nasolabial angle is 96 degrees, which is on the lower end of the ideal range. Her nasofrontal angle is also great at 135 degrees. This means that her nose, her radix, and her brow ridge are harmonious. Her nasal convexity is 25 degrees, ideal, which indicates that her nasal projection is good. Karen's nasofacial, nasomental, and nasal tip angle are also within the ideal range. Moving on, her mentolabial angle is 98 degrees, which is a very minor flaw. Beyond that, Karen's brow ridge inclination is 17 degrees, right in the ideal range. Her orbital vector is positive, which is generally preferred. And lastly, her gonion is below her mouth, also ideal. Putting all of this together, Karen Mulder scores 58.3% for facial harmony. This is an above average harmony, though far from exceptional. Her facial angularity, on the other hand, is excellent. She has good facial leanness, prominent cheekbones, and a great mid-face projection. Her only minor flaw in this department is her chin shape, therefore she scores 9.25 out of 10 for angularity. Next is her sexual dimorphism, for which she receives a 7 out of 10. Her strengths include wide IPD and full lips, while her overly long face, tall chin, and larger nose detract from her score. And finally, for her miscellaneous features, she scores very high. She has clear skin, good eyebrow density, and striking eye color. Her flaws in this category include the nose shape and her slight eyebrow asymmetry. Accordingly, she receives an 8.63 out of 10 for features. As for her overall score, Karen Mulder is a 7.5 out of 10, with an accepted range from 7.2 to 7.6. While her facial harmony is not perfect, her bone structure is exceptionally striking, producing a bold, memorable look that translates beautifully to editorial and runway modeling. It is precisely this combination of strength and visual presence that places her within the model tier level of attractiveness.